Following on from project 1, project 2 will be taking our coffee table into layout and presenting it in layout and just having a good overview of how layout works. So there are a couple of ways that we can get the 3D model into layout. The easiest and probably most common way is to go to File, then Send to Layout. So let's just choose that option. And in the setup tutorial we had under My Templates, we created up a template for layout. So we're going to go to My Templates and select that. If you did not see that tutorial, please watch the very first video tutorial of the Training Notes 1. Okay, so I've selected that and now it's brought in my SketchUp model. So the alternative option of bringing in the SketchUp model is to go File, Insert, and then it will have all the insertable content selected, and you can then just choose the file that you want to insert. So you can insert multiple SketchUp files into the same layout document, images, things like Excel files and RTF text files. So we've got our coffee table here. And let's just talk a little bit about viewing the models, or the sheet. So we've got here the sheet. We can hold the scroll wheel down and pan. If you zoom in and out, you can use the wheel to do so. If I click on the model here, it's like a viewport. So if I double click on it, you can see I can actually spin it around like if I was in SketchUp. If I right click, I do get some camera options that were similar to in SketchUp as well. Okay, so then once I click away, it will remember that view. You can adjust the size of the viewport by just dragging in the sides, and it will automatically adjust to suit that blue box. Next, what we should do is go to the SketchUp model and choose the views that we want to use. So 3D view 1, and it will select the view that you've created. And what's good about that is that if you do any changes in SketchUp to your 3D View 1 scene, they'll be reflected here. So it's always good to select the scene for the view. So I'm just going to drag that over like that. And if it doesn't quite fit, again, you can just adjust the aspect ratio to make it fit. So to make a copy of a viewport in here, you can hold the control key down, so you have to hold control and don't let go of it. Left click and drag it to the right, and then as you're dragging it to the right with both the control and left mouse button holding, you can add shift as well, and it will copy it on the same axis. Then let go of the mouse button first before letting go of your control and shift keys. So it's a little bit different to SketchUp. You have to hold control while copying and don't let go until you're finished dragging your view. So next what you can do is under the SketchUp model tab, you can select the top view, and that's your 2D view. Then you can set your scale, so the closest one will most likely be 1 to 10. Okay, so we'll set that there. Click on your view, and when you selected that top view and then set the scale, it actually preserves the scale and resize. So when you adjust these boxes, it won't adjust the scale, so it remembers the scale. Then holding control again, I can drag this down, and you can see it's doing it on axis by default. Holding control, let go of the mouse button, then let go of control. Then I can select my next view, which is my right view. Or sorry, my left view. Left view, front view. Okay. Then I can hold shift and add to the selection and just bring that down if I want to. Then I can select the next view, holding control, copy that to the left, and then choose my right view. So you now have like a multi-scale page. So we've got the views here. Sorry, they're not multi-scale, they're just multiple views on the same page to a current scale, and you've got your 3D model as well, which is quite handy to have. So at any time you could select the view and you could do it maybe 1 to 5, and I'll just see if that's achievable. It's not too bad. Might be able to make it all fit. We'll try 1 to 5 because it just might look a little bit better. Just drag it out a bit. Okay, it's quite big. If we want to line up an object, I could grab this little blue target, put it on the corner of the tabletop, drag it, then touch the other corner of the tabletop, then move it to the right. Next, I can then just bring in the blue outline and then click on that, and then I can line that up as well with the other table. Oops, I can just undo that. Select the next one. Again, we'll do 1 to 5. I'm just making it bigger for the likes of the tutorial. Possibly 1 to 10 would have been fine in reality. And then again, I can line that up as well by dragging that onto the endpoint and then onto the corner. Once it's on the corner, then I can drag it up and away. So you could we could drag that over and just shrink that down, and then just make it a bit wider. So it's just an idea, you know, the 3D model is just an idea of what it will look like, and then these are the plan views. You could also select 2 elements and then just using your arrows you can just nudge them along up and down. If I've got this 3D, I could go Control C or Edit Copy, go to the cover page and right click and go Paste, and then I could make that view a lot bigger for my cover page. If you zoom in on your 3D views, you can see that they're quite pixelated. So SketchUp comes through always usually as raster. So if I select that and go to the SketchUp model tab again, you can see that it is set to raster. If I drop down here, I can choose hybrid, and it's going to warn me that that might take a while. So just be aware that on those larger models, that could take a long time at times. So hybrid rendering, and I don't want to see that message again because I know that that's going to happen. And you can see there we've got now perfect lines when we zoom in and print. And the good thing about hybrid is that it maintains the texture. If I had to set it to vector only, it will strip the texture and only create the perfect lines and I guess the perfect color. So hybrid is the best of both worlds. If I go next, I can then select my tabletops by holding my tables by holding Shift. Then go to in this case hybrid as well. So we lost the visibility looking down into the railings, but that's okay. We can have a look at maybe fixing that shortly. So to do dimensioning, we can go to the dimension tool and we can select our first point, second point, bring it down and then click. Go to the next point and double click, following point, double click, and then double click. To bring the leaders down, we can get the select tool, so spacebar, double click on a dimension, then we can drag those leaders down so that they line up. Press spacebar again, double click on the next one, drag it down, press spacebar, and it seems to just escape really quickly when you do that. So I'm just going to go through and add those dimensions quite quickly. Double click, double click, double click, and double click. Spacebar, double click on the dimension, drag it down, spacebar, double click on the dimension and drag it down. Lastly, just the tabletop size, we're going to go to dimension again and zoom in sometimes. If you're not able to pick on the endpoints, make sure that you have object snap on. You can also get to object snap by right clicking in grey space. Zoom in. Okay, so that's good. If we want to do any annotations or leader texts, we can go to Label. You can click on the object that you want to label, whether it be a leg or whatever. And then it's going to find what the component name was called. So it's quite cool. If you name your components well in SketchUp, then you can use the name in LayOut. And as soon as you do that, you just click away and it automatically labels it the correct text. Even over here, we've got a rail there. Click away. Component definition, it's given it rail. It tells you things like the volume of that surface. So yeah, you can choose what you want to display, click away, and it will name that. So it's really intuitive. Okay, so let's say we want to update the layout drawing. Since SketchUp's already open, I could just go back to SketchUp. If SketchUp wasn't open, for example, though, I could right click on a view and select Open with SketchUp. And it'll automatically open the file that we want to edit. And we'll make a quick change to it. So we're going to add a bit of a fillet around the top of the tabletop. So I'm going to double click on it, draw a little line down the edge, get the arc tool, or the 2-point arc tool, first point, second point, and then bring it away nice and big, and maybe then say, we'll find the half circle. So if you bring it in, keep bringing it in, it will eventually, with the right angle, find half circle. So the perfect solution for that. Then we get the select tool, select the tabletop, then the follow me tool, and then click on the profile, and it will automatically sweep that around. So that was added on to the model. So if we were to measure that, that was 13 extra millimeters on top. So if I select that again, follow me, and then sweep that around, I still want the overall to be 1100 by 550, so I'm just going to select the tops or the edges with the select tool, get the move tool, and bring that in 13. Select this end, move tool, drag it in 13, and we just do all 4 sides. It remembered 13, so I can just click and then select this end, move tool, 13, click away, and now it's still the correct dimension. So now I can hit save. I've made a change, close my model down, and even though I've made a change, it comes through into layout. They have this thing called persistent IDs, so that where I took the dimensions from in layout related to the entity in SketchUp. So you can see that it's quite nice now when you make a change in layout in SketchUp, it's now reflected in layout. However, I do want the entity or the dimension to be from the overall distance rather than where the fillet begins. So you could do that as well, as long as you get the right point. So you just double click on a dimension and then just move where the dimension is taken from. But you may need to zoom in quite close to make sure that you get the right entity when selecting, because there could be a little bit of an overlap. Okay, so with a bit of fiddling around I could get that right. So you can see the 3D views also been updated. And if I want to update the project title, we can go to text, customize auto text, and we can go to project title, and we call this coffee table design, which is very simple. Then next, project location, so we can go to text again, customize auto text, and the location, it's pretty irrelevant. but you could maybe say version 1 design project address. Project location may not be an auto text. It just might be just a unique element, so you might just say design version 1, something like that. Okay, so now that we've finished that, I just want to show you one last thing. If you go to File, then Document Setup, then References, you can see here's the current SketchUp file. You can also update it here, or if you lose the location of where it's kept, you can relink it here, or you can edit the file here, so that also launches SketchUp. And lastly, or it may not be quite lastly, but if we go to File, Export, we can also export images, so export each page. You can export PDF and export everything to a PDF, so let's just test that out. Then hit Save, and then you can set the quality, medium, high or low, and then it will export a PDF for you. And then obviously you can share that with your customers. Okay, we can zoom in and out. Okay, so yeah, there were a few extra things I wanted to show you. You can select different styles even within layout. So if you were to click on a view, you could go to where is it? SketchUp model, styles, and you can see these are the two styles that came across from SketchUp. But if you go to the drop down and then styles, there are assorted styles that you could select. So you could create quite cool imagery even though you're not in SketchUp. So just letting you know that you can do that. You can also, when you select the view, you can change the line weight of that, so maybe 0.2, and it will update your model. It will make it a lot finer. So we go in model, so you can go 0.1 even, and it just will make the edges a bit slimmer. Okay, if you wanted to do a scaled drawing within here, so we could go to a new thing in 2018, which is called scale drawing. We could make a scale drawing, and you could choose a scale. So I want it to be 1:5, just like the drawing is, and then I could set that to millimeters, which I've done. Okay, then I can get the line tool and just start drawing. So I'm just going to start drawing just so I can have an object there, because what I want to do is, since I can't see the railings behind there, I'm just going to change the style temporarily so I can. So if I go to the drop down and then go styles, I want to go, default styles, wireframe, so I can see the detail behind there. Then I can get the scale drawing on the right, double click on it, so now I can use that scale drawing or that object scale drawing and draw within there. So if I zoom in here, you can see I really just want to be able to show where those railings are. So I can select that now and drag that until it meets the edge. And I drew that and it looks quite thick, so if I go to shape style, I could actually bring that down as well to 0.2. So it's a bit thinner like the rest of the drawing. Then what I can do is I can drag that onto the corner, copy that to the other edge, and I might just need to zoom in, just one moment. We'll do it to there. That's better. Okay, so once I've made one copy, it's like SketchUp. I can go 11x, and it will repeat the same dimensions. So any other kind of like hidden detail that I wanted to add to scale, I can add. So if I go rectangle again, make sure that I set the line thickness to 0.2 before drawing. I can get in there and just add in that hidden detail. And if I want to, I could even do it in such a way where it's dashed. So if I was to go Control A, I could select dashes, and I could go, I want 0.5 dash. Then again, get the rectangle tool, turn off the fill, go to dashes, and then 0.5 before drawing it. And then I can just trace over the drawing so that I can show hidden detail, even though the SketchUp model may not reflect that. So let's just add that in there. Okay, so I can delete this object over there that was just, temporarily being used. So when I click on my model now, I can go back to my previous view and I can show hidden detail, like there's more railings to be added, but you get the idea. Now the really cool thing is that I can now select my model under SketchUp style, and maybe I want that back to 110. And then I can select my scale drawing, and I can also set that to 110, so that you can use that. And make sure that you've still got basically an accurate drawing. So it's quite cool. It's essentially now a more powerful documentation tool. By being able to draw to scale within LayOut, you don't necessarily have to add all the detail in SketchUp.